Before the northern kingdoms learned to fear banners, before priests taught steel to kneel before scripture, there was the Ring of Sable Sand. It stood in the heart of a city without mercy. A perfect circle of black stone built around a pit of pale dust. The dust was not pale by nature. It had been bleached by the sun, ground by 1,000 heels, and salted by the bones of those who had mistaken applause for mercy. In that city, a person could be born nameless, but never remain so. A name was earned with blood. Every dawn, the gates of the ring opened. Thieves, debtors, soldiers, oathbreakers, foreign champions, condemned nobles, and volunteers with hunger in their eyes stepped into the sand. Some carried shields, some carried spears, some carried nothing but prayer. Prayer rarely lasted past the first bell. The city adored its fighters, but it adored only one above all others, Cael Veyr, called the Blade King. He had not been born royal. He had entered the ring as a boy with wrists too thin for shackles and a training sword heavier than his arm. The crowd had laughed when they saw him. He bowed to them. Then he killed the man sent to butcher him. From that day onward, he bowed before every duel, not deeply, never humbly. It was a small gesture, the tilt of the chin, the lowering of the blade, the left hand across the heart, a courtesy, a promise. I see you, I honor you. I will end you cleanly if I can. Years pass. The boy became a champion. The champion became a legend. The legend became a weapon no king could afford and no king could command. He learned to cut beyond the measure of his arm. He learned to step between heartbeats. He learned to read the truth of fear by the movement of a shoulder. Fire did not shake him. Winter did not slow him. Poison failed to sour his blood. Sorcery could touch the air around him, but never find purchase in his flesh. They said Cael Veyr fought as long as he remained unmarked. The first wound was the only wound that mattered. If his skin was whole, he was untouchable. If blood fell from him, the gods remembered he was mortal. And so the people loved him, not because he could kill, but because he made death look like ceremony. Cael's salute became law before any magistrate wrote it down. Every fighter who wished to earn the respect of the ring copied it. Some did so beautifully, others mocked it. Those who mocked it usually died with astonishment still open on their faces. A bow before a duel meant restraint. It meant the fight would be decided by skill, not spite. It meant no blade to the back, no hidden dart, no second fighter lurking beneath the gate, no sand thrown into the eyes unless both had agreed to dishonor. Cael believed violence needed shape.
Without form,
He once told a young challenger.
murder becomes noise.
The challenger spat at his feet. Cael bowed anyway. The crowd laughed. The challenger lunged too early. Cael's blade moved once, a silver line across the heat of the arena. The man's sword arm fell into the dust before the man himself realized he had lost it. Cael stepped close, lowered his voice, and said,
You were short in courtesy. Be grateful you are not yet short ahead.
Then he let the man live. Mercy from the Blade King was rarer than victory, but mercy spread farther than his cruelty ever could. Soon children in the outer streets saluted one another with sticks. Soldiers from distant provinces practiced the gesture in barracks. Noble duelists stained their gloves with perfumed oils and declared themselves students of Cael's art, though none of them had stood beneath the black gates while the crowd screamed for their death. But admiration breeds imitation, and imitation breeds hunger. The kings beyond the city wanted Cael as their champion. The priests wanted him as proof of divine favor. The merchants wanted his name stamped onto wine, silk and steel. The city wanted him to remain exactly where he was, in the ring, killing beautifully forever. Cael wanted none of it. He wanted one final opponent worthy of the bow. She arrived during the winter so severe that even the arena sand froze at night. Her name was Illyra of the White March. She wore no jewels, her hair was bound in iron rings. Her armor had been burned black in some forgotten siege, then split and repaired with bone-white metal that shone like moonlit ice. She carried a glaive taller than any man in the ring. When she gave her name, the master of matches laughed.
"No spears against the Blade King,"
he said.
"No polearms. No coward's distance."
Elira looked past him toward the arena below, where Cael was practicing alone in the morning frost.
"Then give him a longer sword,"
she replied. Word reached Cael by noon. Came to see her himself.
You believe reach makes courage?
He asked.
"I believe dead men complain less about rules."
The guards flinched, expecting anger. Cael smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a man who had finally heard music after years of drums.
What do you seek?
He asked. Elira removed one of the iron rings from her hair and dropped it at his feet. It struck the stone with a hard, clean sound.
"My brother entered your ring 3 years ago. He bowed to you. You honored him. You killed him. My mother died whispering that salute like a prayer. I have come to discover whether the gesture is worth the grief it leaves behind."
Cael looked down at the iron ring.
What was his name?
"His name was Varen."
Cael's smile vanished. He remembered Varen, young, fast, brave enough to fight when he should have retreated, brave enough to smile when he knew he had lost.
He fought well.
Cael said.
"He died anyway.
Yes.
Then I will fight better."
For the first time in many years, Cael bowed first outside the arena. The city trembled with anticipation. Their duel was set for the first Thor. By then, the city could speak of nothing else. Priests argued over omens. Gamblers sold houses. Old champions returned to witness the day. Children climbed rooftops before sunrise. The ring filled until its walls groaned. Cael entered, bareheaded, wearing only a duelist coat of dark red leather, fitted close to the body, sleeveless to show the scars he had earned before he learned not to receive them. Around his throat hung a citrine amulet set in a narrow band of silver. It was not ornate. The stone held a golden light, warm and sharp, like sunlight trapped in a blade's edge. Those close enough to see it swore the gem pulsed when the crowd roared. Elira entered through the cold gate. The air followed her in a white mist. She wore the burned armor. She carried the glaive. She did not wave to the crowd. She did not look at the nobles watching from silk-draped seats. Her eyes remained on Cael. The first bell rang. Cael bowed. Elira did not. A murmur moved through the arena. Cael straightened.
No courtesy?
"My brother bowed."
She said.
"It did not save him."
It was not meant to.
"Then what is it meant to do?"
Cael lifted his blade.
To remind us we are not beasts.
The second bell rang. Elira attacked before the third. Her glaive crossed the distance with the hiss of winter wind. Cael moved, not backward, but sideways, his body turning just enough for the blade to pass where his throat had been. He answered with a cut that should have been too short to reach. It kissed sparks from her pauldron. The crowd erupted. Elira understood then what others had learned too late. Cael's reach was not measured in inches. It lived in timing. It lived in the instant when an opponent believed themselves safe. She pressed him hard. A glaive struck from above, below, around the guard. Cael flowed between the blows, never hurried, never still. Each time he answered, the citrine at his throat flashed. Then the arena changed. From the western braziers, flames rose too high, twisting into the sand as if drawn by invisible breath. From the cold gate, frost crept outward in jagged veins. The crowd screamed, sorcery. Someone had broken the laws of the ring. Cael and Elira both felt it. Heat at the back, cold at the front, death closing from both sides. The duel had become execution. The kings had paid for it. The priests had blessed it. The merchants had funded it. None wanted Cael free, and none wanted Elira victorious enough. to become another legend. So they had decided to burn and freeze them together. Illyra's armor smoked. Cael's breath crystallized, yet he did not fall. The amulet at his throat blazed gold. Fire rolled over him and broke. Frost climbed his boots and shattered. The citrine drank both extremes and gave him speed in return. As long as he remained unwounded, nothing could slow him. He turned toward the high seats. For the first time, the crowd saw anger on the Blade King's face. Not rage, worse, judgment. Cael could have fled. The eastern gate stood open. The guards had abandoned it when the sorcery began. Beyond it waited tunnels, stables, alleys, rooftops, the life he had secretly wanted. Instead, he looked at Illyra.
Can you stand?
She drove the butt of her glaive into the sand.
Can you?
He laughed once, then he bowed to her, not the small salute of the arena. A true bow, deep, grave, royal. When he rose, Illyra returned it. The crowd fell silent. Together they turned from one another toward the high seats. The third bell rang, though no hand had pulled the rope. Cael moved first. He crossed the arena as if distance had lost authority over him. Arrows fell from the guard towers. He cut some aside. Others missed because he was no longer where the archers believed a man should be. Illyra followed behind him, sweeping fire from the sand with the head of her glaive, breaking frost with each step. Cael reached the inner wall and ran up the black stone. The crowd would later swear this was impossible. The crowd had seen many impossible things and loved pretending each one was the first. He landed among the silk seats. The first king died before his bodyguards drew steel. The second begged for parley. Cael saluted him. Then he took his head. Priests raised wards of pale light. The amulet dimmed at Cael's throat, for it offered no comfort against such cowardly magic. That had always been its price. It strengthened flesh, sharpened grace, hardened the body against the world's extremes, but it left the soul bare. No shield of spirit, no hidden sanctuary, no borrowed heaven. Cael staggered. The priest smiled. Then Illyra's glaive split the ward from behind. The smile went with it. One by one, the conspirators died in the seats they had purchased with other people's blood. Some fought. They were honored. Some crawled. They were slaughtered. When it ended, the ring was quiet, except for the crackle of dying braziers and the soft drip of blood onto marble. Cael stood before the master of matches, the man who had sold the jewel, the man who had whispered to kings while pretending to serve the sand. The master trembled.
You cannot kill me. I made you.
Cael touched the citrine amulet.
No.
He said,
You named me. The ring made me. My enemies proved me. And I
He raised his sword.
outgrew you.
The master of matches died without applause. Freedom did not come gently. By sunset, the city had become a battlefield. The palace guards stormed the ring. The old champions chose sides. Slaves broke their chains in the lower corridors. Nobles fled through sewer doors wearing servant clothes. Fires spread across the market district. Bells rang until their bronze throats cracked. Cael and Illyra fought from the arena to the outer gates. They did not speak often. They had no need. Each began to understand the rhythm of the other. Cael was a narrow flame. Illyra was winter given weight. Together, they made a season fit for endings. But no body remains whole forever. Near midnight, beneath the statue of a forgotten emperor, a child soldier lunged from beneath a broken cart. He could not have been more than 15. His hands shook. His spear was too long for him. Cael saw him too late. The spearhead slipped past his guard and opened a thin red line across his ribs. A small wound. Almost nothing. The citrine went dark. Cael exhaled. The world rushed back in. Pain, cold, smoke, age, weight. The 1,000 debts his body had postponed came to collect. The child stared at the blood on his spear, horrified. Illyra raised her glaive. Cael caught the shaft before she could strike.
No.
He wounded you.
He was ordered.
So was every butcher in history.
The boy dropped the spear and ran. Illyra watched him disappear into the smoke.
Mercy again.
Not mercy.
Cael said, pressing a hand to his side.
Memory.
They reached the city gate before dawn. Beyond it lay the open road, grey beneath the first light. Behind them, the ring burned. The black stone cracked in the heat. The pale sand turned red, then black, then glass. Cael removed the amulet from his throat. For the first time, Illyra saw the back of it. There, engraved in tiny letters, was a line worn smooth by years of skin and sweat. Bow only to the brave.
Who gave you that?
She asked. Cael looked toward the burning arena.
A woman I killed.
Illyra waited.
She was the first person who bowed to me before I knew what the gesture meant.
And now?
Now I think she was not bowing to me.
He closed the amulet in his fist.
She was bowing to the part of me she hoped would survive.
Cael Veyr vanished from the city's histories. Officially, he died in the uprising. Several kings claimed credit. 3 priests wrote competing sermons about his arrogance. The merchants sold cheap bronze replicas of his amulet until the widows of the rings smashed their stalls and fed the pieces to the gutter. But along the border roads, stories traveled differently. A burned village in the west told of a swordsman who walked through a house fire to carry out 2 children and an old dog. A frozen pass in the north told of a man and a woman who held the road against raiders for an entire night, their silhouettes lit by moon and snow. A monastery in the hills recorded the arrival of a wounded duelist who refused healing charms but accepted needle and thread. A tavern song claimed he could kill a candle flame from 6 paces with a dagger, then relight it by glaring. That part was almost certainly false. Illyra remained with him for 7 years, not as servant, not as lover, though some songs insisted otherwise, not as disciple, though many fools later claimed dissent from her teachings. She remained because grief is a road, and she had not reached its end. Cael never asked forgiveness for her brother. She never offered it. Instead, they fought bandits, tyrants, oathbreakers, and champions who mistook reputation for strength. Before every duel, Cael bowed. Sometimes Illyra did too. Sometimes she did not. One evening, after a fight against 3 noble brothers who had challenged Cael to restore their family honor and then tried to poison his wine, Illyra sat beside him beneath a dead oak.
You still believe in courtesy?
She asked. Cael cleaned his blade.
Especially now.
They cheated.
Yes.
They deserved no honor.
Honor is not payment for virtue.
He said.
It is the shape I choose before violence chooses one for me.
Illyra considered this. Then slowly she gave him the smallest bow. Cael smiled.
You are learning.
Oh,
She said.
I am deciding.
The last person to challenge the Blade King was not a king. It was not a champion either. It was an old woman with clouded eyes and a wooden practice sword. She found him in a coastal town where cliffs leaned over the sea like judges. By then, Cael's hair had silvered at the temples. His right knee ached before rain. His scars had begun to pull at him in winter. The old woman entered the tavern at dusk.
Cael Veyr,
She said. Every conversation died. Cael looked up from his cup.
I have been many men by that name.
I have come for the one who killed my daughter in the ring.
Illyra, seated across from him, closed her eyes. There it was, the past, patient as a knife. Cael stood.
Her name?
Citrine!
He remembered. Of course he remembered. A young woman with a cracked helm. A bow before the fight. A cut across his cheek before he learned how dangerous she truly was. He had killed her with respect. He had killed her cleanly. He had killed her. The old woman tossed the wooden sword at his feet.
I cannot lift steel,
She said.
but I can still make the gesture.
She bowed. The tavern watched in horror. Cael picked up the wooden sword. Illyra whispered.
You do not have to do this.
Cael removed the citrine amulet from his throat and placed it on the table.
Yes,
He said.
I do.
They walked to the cliffside. No crowd followed at first. Then everyone followed. The duel began beneath a sky bruised purple by sunset. The old woman struck clumsily. Cael parried gently. She struck again. He stepped aside. She cursed him. He bowed his head and let her rage spend itself against his guard. At last, breathless and shaking, she dropped the wooden sword.
Why won't you fall?
She screamed. Cael looked at the sea.
Because falling would comfort you for a moment,
He said.
and then leave you alone with the same grief.
I want justice.
No,
He said softly.
you want your daughter.
The old woman collapsed to her knees. Cael knelt before her, not as a king, not as a champion, only as an old murderer who had learned too late that clean deaths still left unclean wounds. The woman struck him across the face with her bare hand, once, twice, a third time. Then she wept into his coat. Cael did not move. When she had no tears left, he helped her stand and placed the wooden sword in her hands.
She wounded me.
He said.
Your daughter, here.
He touched the old scar along his cheek.
She was brave.
The old woman stared at him. Then she gave him the smallest possible bow. Cael returned it. That night he left the amulet behind. The citrine amulet passed from hand to hand after Cael's disappearance. A fisherman found it on the tavern table and tried to sell it. His boats survived a storm that drowned 3 larger ships, so he kept it instead. His granddaughter wore it during a raid and moved so quickly through smoke and snow that raiders swore they had been attacked by a golden-eyed ghost. A mercenary captain bought it from her years later and won 12 duels without a wound, only to die in the 13th when he refused to bow. A prince wore it beneath ceremonial armor and discovered, too late, that the amulet did not protect cowards from consequences. In every generation the tale changed. Some said the amulet granted speed to those whose bodies were unbroken. Some said it hardened the wearer against flame and frost. Some said it lengthened the killing reach of any blade. Some said it devoured the invisible shields of sorcerers, leaving only flesh, nerve, breath, and courage. But the oldest duelists knew the truer enchantment. The amulet did not make a warrior honorable. It punished those who confused victory with worth. On the back of the silver setting, the inscription remained, "Bow only to the brave." Yet, beneath it, almost too faint to see, another line had appeared over time. No smith admitted to carving it. No scholar could explain how the letters had formed. They were visible only when the citrine caught both firelight and winter moon. And never forget the dead who bowed first. Thus the amulet came to be known not by the name of the man who wore it, nor by the city that burned behind him, nor by the kings whose blood once decorated the high seats of the ring. It was called the Blade King's last courtesy. Those who wore it well became faster, while their courage remained whole. Those who wore it poorly became legends only in the memories of gravediggers. And before every true duel, when steel lifted and breath slowed, the wise still gave the old salute. A blade lowered, a hand to the heart, a promise made in silence. I see you. I honor you. May only one of us leave, but may neither of us leave as a beast.